So welcome to another episode of I Am Nano.
Putting the I in I Am Nano. I am your host, Irfani.
And I am your other host, Monica.
And today, as part of our Nanolife series, we have a special guest who will be sharing her experiences, advice, and opinions.
Yes, super excited that today we have Amanda, who did her master's at the University of Waterloo and is currently pursuing a PhD while working in a company that spun off from her supervisor's lab. And she's working full time. That's amazing.
This is really cool. I mean, since she practically helped develop the technology from the very beginning.
Wow.
It's really cool. Well, anyways, welcome, Amanda. And to start off, tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into research.
All right. So hi, everyone. My name is Amanda. I have a chemical engineering background, and my undergrad has like lots of material related courses. And that's when I started to get myself into the material science field. So I got into research on the nanomaterials during the last year of my undergrad. And I was doing a perovskite solar cell related thesis project. It was just started as a hot topic at that time. Mm-hmm. So I found myself really thriving mostly in creating, developing new things type of thing. So I chose to do the grad school and continue doing more researches.
So basically you fell in love with tinkering with stuff in the lab and create new cool stuff in the lab.
Pretty much. I love challenges. I don't like day-to-day life is copy paste. So
yeah. That's very true. That is very interesting. And I guess you kind of answered this question already because we were curious on what you worked on as a master's and if you continued that as your PhD project.
So the perovskite solar cell is in my undergrad thesis project.
Okay, so that's what it was.
Yes. And then my master, I developed a method for coating ultra thin films for graphene-based materials in more of a batch scale. Okay. And then, so I continued that work into my PhD. So I managed to bring it into more like a row-to-row fashion, and then expand it into different nanomaterials, including nanotubes and other 2D materials. So
if I can follow up on that, what makes you interested in doing coatings from solar cell?
I do agree. It sounds a little bit weird because normally grad school, everybody would pick, especially on engineering, they would pick a certain application. They just want to go down I want to make a supercapacitor, or I want to make a battery cell. The reason I did that is that when I make the perovskite solar cells, each they are a layer by layer structure. Each layers they have different functions. But I noticed that the way that I was making them, we just do regular spin coating and such, it wasn't really a controllable method. And then so my supervisor was mentioning about this Langmuir Blodgett method. And then they are very controllable on the film thickness and such. So they generally, the technology started back in, I don't know, it's 18 something probably. Don't call me on the time. Really? I think it's a very, very old. It's a 19 something. So it's 1910, earlier paper, you're probably gonna find 1910 by Langmuir. So that's just for the surfactants. And then in the I believe that's 28, that started into nanotubes. Before 28, that was more nanoparticles and such. So people use them to deposit in the nanomaterials. Yeah, my work is more spinning from a regular traditional one into a row-to-row fashion.
Oh, wow. Very nice.
Yeah. So you're basically tackling the challenge that a lot of other nanotech material scientists had, but then you're using a method to scale it up in a way.
Yeah, so I've
Yeah.
been always been interested in scaling things up.
Mhm.
Like I chose to working on the coding method
Right.
in my grad school. Yeah.
Mhm. That's
Yeah.
really cool.
There's so many different types of coding techniques that can be used. So it's interesting that you actually had to pinpoint which one to be used and then also optimize your own science with that, I guess. Wow.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I basically continued with the observations from my supervisor's PhD work. So he had observations, so he had a vision on how things could work. I just
Mhm.
made it work, I guess. So
Making it work is hard.
Yes. Yes.
Making it work is really hard.
yeah, we just made, well, we made a good team, I guess.
Yeah.
So he had an idea, so we
Yeah.
made it work. So
It worked
yeah,
out really well.
it worked it out.
Wow.
Yeah, it worked it out.
Wow. That's so
For
cool.
sure.
Well,
Mhm.
I guess from that, you're currently also working in your supervisor's startup, right?
Yep.
And
So
so
my
that,
yeah,
how did it start?
my yes, my supervisor is the co-founder of the startup I'm currently working at. And I was the co-inventor of one of the patents that
Wow.
the company, company currently
That's
holds.
really cool, dude.
So I've been connected with the company founders since almost like the very beginning. So I got an offer during the first lockdown back in 2020,
2020?
and so I thought it was a great opportunity for me because at that time the actual research activity sort of like goes down a little bit because the labs got shut down and such. So I thought it's a good opportunity for me, just take the offer and work full time while
That's
doing my
really
PhD
cool.
part time.
Wow. I mean, as a PhD student, having, being a co-inventor on a patent, that's, I mean, I'm sure it happens, but it's not often. So that's really cool.
I'm very happy. I'm very happy that like my contribution to the idea got recognized.
For sure. Yeah.
So and then the work being patented, and it's definitely like very awesome. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But for me, like I think what I treasure most is actually the fact that I was able to involve into this whole process from like actually initially drafting that patent application all the way to it's getting granted. It's just such a great learning experience for me because I never thought that writing a patent and writing a manuscript, they're like totally two different things.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, like
Yes.
I was like,
Oh, yeah,
it's
for
not
sure.
like this. I wrote
And
that
the
in my manuscript.
the law lingo.
Yeah, the law. Yeah, exactly. The patent. Yeah, you would need. You're just like not like just you and your supervisor. You're like your supervisor, and the
A lawyer?
patent agency. Yeah, a lawyer.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And then
Wow.
try to
Yep.
be as vague as possible so no one can figure out what you're doing.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's interesting. It's very it's a strategy, I would say. So yeah, quite interesting.
That's really cool. I would be so proud if what I did was patentable. Like, I mean, I don't have that yet, but it's really cool.
Huge
That's really
kudos
Thank
and
you.
pat on
Yeah.
the back. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
amazing.
I mean, it's one thing to get published, but it's another thing to also get it patented. It's a
Yeah.
huge
Well,
accomplishment.
you guys, I'm sure you guys are doing an awesome job too. So, but
Yeah.
I'm still like, I think I'm a little torn between like patent and like papers. I love publishing papers that like I can just literally throwing all the things I learn, I know, share with
Right.
everybody. Like I never I don't have a goal for myself like yes I want to hit like so many like the hot papers or whatever. I just hoping
Share the
that the
knowledge.
paper like the paper I publish 100 years later somebody see it would be
Yeah.
like thank God this person like
Already did it.
saw the same thing I see right now.
Yeah.
That's
I
all I
guess
wanted.
it's like being a researcher and also being in the industry, right? So
yes, the
sometimes it can
mindset is
conflict.
yeah,
Yeah.
the mindset is definitely different.
Yeah. Well, did you actually think that when you started your project that it could be pantable though? Because, there's so many, I mean, in academia, it's all about novelty, right? Either the
Yeah.
application or the material or the insight itself is novel, and not all of them can be pantable. So did you think that when you started, it could be like your work could be pantable?
Well, I don't think so. I think all I was thinking back, back to that time, all I was thinking, I just want to make it work.
Mhm.
I think that's all I was thinking about.
Wow.
Because I think as I was going through this whole process, I think the biggest thing I realized is that whether or not a thing is patentable, I think
Mhm.
I remember there's like two criteria you have to fit. So one is the novelty, and then the
Mhm.
second thing is non-obvious, I think. So if
Non-obvious.
so if you want to fit like non-obvious, it's actually very difficult. For example, so actually pattern has to be really specific. So the vague patterns really gonna get caught at the end.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
Interesting.
pattern, I'm not sure like if you guys knows like the whole process of patterning. So
Not
usually
really.
involves so it usually involves you to submit in general cases. Well, I'm not like expert on it, so you probably want to talk to a lawyer to
Mhm.
to talk
Mhm.
more about more details. But from what I've known, what I know is that you would need to submit your yearly what they call a provisional pattern. So where you just basically demonstrating all the things and then with your claims and such. So that's when your patterns will get to public. So you just publish right away. So it doesn't have a review period. I don't know what's how you guys thinking, because in general, if you're writing a paper, you're like you submit, you're getting reviewed, and you're getting
Right.
like I don't know like revisions and all those kind of things. And then
Right.
after how many months you're waiting, and then you find the finish, and then you publish it. But
Mhm.
pattern is not like that. So your applications, once you finish your application, you submit, it will be online right away. So you just publish it, and then a year later, you can have a choice of whether or not you're doing like a full pattern or such.
Or it
And
expires,
then
I guess, after a
yeah,
year.
and then yeah, and then yeah, or expires in a year, and then your pattern will actually getting reviewed, and the review process really takes like 12 to 18 months,
Oh my
and then you
goodness.
will get office actions and all those kind of things, and you reply, and office action is just sort of like a reviewer comments. So it's the officers, they call it patent officers. They will give you their comments, and then you have to reply. So you have to choose whether or not you can keep this claim or drop this claim, change this claim, and all this kind of thing. So in general cases, patent agencies are not going to let broad claims pass. You have to be,
Okay.
yeah, it's more likely going to get a pass if you are specific. I
Perfect.
But
guess.
aren't you trying to protect trade secrets within patents? But then if you publish it, how do you keep people from
Oh, well,
finding
that's
out?
more like a different,
Different.
like a,
That's a
like a,
different.
that's a different topic, I think.
Okay.
So
I thought it's part of the patent. That's what I would
mm,
imagine.
no, if you want to keep it a trade secret, you're not going to patent, right? So normally, if you think about a patent, I remember people, I remember like someone I know as a friend, he mentioned that the patent is like you have a property, then you're putting together like a fence,
Mhm.
and then like you're trying your best to like prevent people from getting in, right? So
Mhm.
but like it's yeah, it's a difficult. I think it's kind of difficult to say this. Normally, I think in industry, if your final product can be easily like reverse engineered, people would want to patent them. But if it's just difficult to figure it out, then
Mhm.
they just want to keep it as a trade secret.
Okay.
So
Normal,
the
yeah.
big example of that is Coca-Cola is a trade secret. It's not patented. So
Oh,
that's the difference
I
between a
see.
trade
Okay,
secret and
okay.
a patent
Oh, very
example. Yeah.
interesting.
That's a
Yeah.
Oh,
good
I
So
never,
example.
yeah, that's
yeah,
Yeah,
the
I
big
never knew
one.
that.
Yeah.
that's a good example. So yeah, if you can't reverse engineer it, then
Mhm.
there's no point in panicking because no one can do it.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes. That's what
that's true.
I've seen yearly. Yeah, yeah. And
Okay.
then it's common to have trade secret in the industry as well. Very common.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Interesting.
I
Very
didn't think
cool.
of it like that. Wow. Well, it's good to hear from your perspective as a researcher,
Mhm.
because usually when you hear from like business people, they don't kind of look at that perspective, as the person who developed it. So
Yes.
this
Yeah.
is really good.
Yep. Yep.
It's really good.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I guess I know as a researcher, maybe you like disseminating your research and sharing the results, or at least we have these like where you have to do a poster or a conference presentation. And do you get any of that while you're doing your industry work versus your PhD work? Or are you allowed to do any of that thing? Those kinds of
We
things?
we certainly, yeah, we certainly get chance to share the technology, share the
Okay.
aspects. That doesn't mean that we have to share the trade secret and all that.
Okay, perfect. Yeah,
Yeah.
makes
So
sense.
especially when you present things, you have to make sure that people knows that the things are real, right? So
Mhm.
you have to share some information. So that's for sure. But company has policies of like that you can share these, you cannot share these, and those
Mhm.
kind of things.
Interesting. Yes.
So yeah,
Yeah.
people depending on the role you are in the company, like who you can share things to, who it's they're written down as policies. Yeah, but
Mhm.
definitely we have opportunities that are sharing informations. And normally what happens when you share information, especially when you have to share trade secret or like some other confidential informations, they would sign NDA. So it's
Right.
very common that you would sign NDA and then you start sharing all your information.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Interesting.
but public, I don't think I have done like public presentations just yet, especially like during COVID. I don't think
Yes,
there's a
that's
chance that
true.
you
That
would go
is.
somewhere and presenting it. But yeah, I definitely see that there will be opportunities in the future.
Mhm. Yeah, because I think as researchers, we just like, hey, I did this. You want to know how I did it? But then if you're industry, no, 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 you can't tell them.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Usually once you sign NDA, it's fine. Yeah, and
Okay.
then yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes you definitely have to, right? So
Yeah. If you want to do stuff with them together. So
exactly. Yeah,
yeah, that's
exactly.
true. That's true. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess as working in the industry and you're also doing PhD, how is it like juggling both of them? I mean, day
Um,
to day, it's a lot of work.
yeah, that's a really good question. So I usually just work like 8 hours normally, just like 9 to 5, and then
Mhm.
I work on my PhD just after hours or like on weekends.
Oh, okay, okay.
That's how I usually manage it.
Mhm.
I don't think I would do like I don't think I would start my part-time PhD right as I started PhD.
Mhm.
I decided to throw into part-time because I think I had a pretty good idea what I want to get out of my PhD at that time already. So I decided to do that because just to be honest, I think PhD itself, it's a full-time job.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just to be
100%.
Oh, yeah.
honest, like I just to be
Yeah.
honest, it requires a lot of attention. And you sometimes
Yes.
even you're doing PhD, you're not doing anything else. You requires like overtime work and such.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
for sure.
So yeah, so PhD itself is definitely um, not a part-time work.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm part-time right now just because I pretty much sorted out the things I need to do, the
Mhm.
methodologies and all that things. I already have an idea. So I don't need a lot of time to do in developing.
Mhm.
So I was able to actually working 8 hours
Mhm.
for another like full-time job. So yeah.
Mhm.
So and in
Yeah.
terms of my day to day, so so in the current startup company, I found myself switching between different roles quite a bit.
Yeah.
And then I think it's very common in like a really fast growing startup company. So but but in but I have to say, like, all my work, it's just all R&D related. So they're just all like R&D projects. So these work like generally includes like making proposals, carrying out works with my team, and also reporting to the high level people. So it's quite a bit different from a regular grad student
Yeah. I think
life.
with
Yeah.
grad student, at least for me, I do a lot of work myself and then probably get some help from my other lab mates, but I guess there's more collaboration in industry, right? Because you're not doing everything yourself, you're in a team, you're part of a team.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's definitely. And that's actually, like, from my experience, it's the most difficult thing I found myself to actually get like adjusted to.
Okay.
It actually took me a long time to really understanding that I have to adjust to it, because right, like no one is gonna come out and just point it at you. Well, you gotta do this. Like you can't work the other way anymore or something like that.
Mhm.
So yeah, it took me quite a while to actually understand the importance of just how to work in a team and
Mhm.
like that, because I'm so used to working just by my own in my
Right.
grad studies.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess that falls into the following question is, can you share some of the personal challenges that you faced during your time as a senior researcher in your company?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, so I can elaborate a little bit more about my
Sure.
point on that. So as a grad student,
Mhm.
my day to day, it's I just found out like I'm after like being in the grad school for it's probably like 5 6 years. I'm losing count already. Like I started to sort of forgot the power of working in a team, I have to say.
Oh.
So because in the grad school, I found myself really do everything by myself. I would design my experiments, collecting data, analyzing them, writing the paper. I do everything myself. I think every
Mhm.
grad student is like a one person army, seriously.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
they're amazing. They just do everything by themselves. But once you get into the company, then everyone in the company, no matter what kind of role they are, to be honest, there's only one goal, is that you want the company to survive, you want to make a profit. So you have to working as a team, and you have to like work with everybody else. So like I said, I didn't really understand that, like how important that is. And it's definitely like, at least for me, it's definitely like a learning curve.
Mhm.
Because switching between like from like just do everything yourself to another position where you're starting to become well, what do you guys call as a like senior researcher, or we
Mhm.
usually call it as project lead?
Project
Is that
leads. Okay.
yeah, project
Nice.
leads,
Okay.
that um, we started to, at least like myself, is that I can't just easily go out and say like, oh hey, like can you do this project to like a teammate, like maybe like team member, maybe they don't have as much experience,
Mhm.
because I started to have to learn to actually break down the project and plan it with my team, and then give them trust, let them do the work, and
Mm.
help them review it, help them grow. So my role is definitely changing. And then I found that is very important, just because as project lead, we can't spend much time just only on doing the actual work. It's very important too, but we're switching ourselves to do a lot of managing work too, like management work.
Mhm.
And that's very time consuming as well.
Mm.
And then we're left with very little time, which we have to devote those, like it's better to devote those times, which at least like I found it very efficient, is like you devote those times to help your team members to carry out works. So
Mhm.
I found that is very important. And it's, yeah, like I said, it's definitely a learning curve. It took me quite a bit time
Yeah.
to do it. Yeah. I have to say, like, I'm definitely still learning. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I can imagine it's like growing every day and it's always different, like you said, right?
Yeah.
So I guess to help with a grad student transitioning to the industry, I guess project management skills would be important, or try to get more teamwork or team building skills if they can. Would that be something you suggest? Or what would you suggest to like prepare for the kind of position you have?
Like, one thing I'm kind of sad about grad school is that they pull people out of, like, sort of like a career development, that they forgot how to, like, they don't have much of like a project management work, which I wish they would
Mhm.
at least mentioning it and teaching it. Because, for example, we don't really learn like how to estimate our time, like how to estimate how much work has to go into a certain project, how many people we would need to go into the certain project to, in order to carrying out the project. So, or maybe that doesn't teach anywhere. But anyways, so once you get into like a company standpoint, you sort of need to have that kind of ability.
Mhm.
And I found, yeah, so having a little bit, like, I guess, well, I wouldn't say that you have to go out of your way to really learn it. So, but I would say, like, paying attention to yourself, how you yourself is carrying out a project, so that later on you can teach other people how to do the
Mhm.
things, is actually very important.
Mhm.
So yeah, some soft skills would be very helpful, communications, all those kind of things.
Mhm. You need to learn how to put trust in other people again if you transfer to a company, because at that point you can't do everything yourself. You
Yeah,
have to trust other people
definitely.
to do that with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah,
So
having that
that's
kind of mindset, just to start it, having that mindset is very important.
Mhm.
It's you sort of have to giving up the work. You have to transitioning from you do it yourself, and then to how I can teach a person to do almost the same way I would do a thing. It's
right,
actually very difficult. It's like, something doesn't mean that you can teach.
right.
It's very similar principle, I think.
Mhm.
And sometimes I found myself that the person I work with did not carry out the thing that the way I would do it. I found like I actually didn't give this person the proper description.
Right,
If
right.
I try a different description, this person would do better.
Mhm.
So yeah, so they're not they everybody their brain probably worked totally differently. But
Mhm.
yeah, I totally agree. I fully agree.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess that's something that all of us grad students, if we want to transition to industry, have to learn,
Yep.
especially if you've
Yeah,
been doing it for like years as a grad student.
yeah. I found it's quite challenging actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess the big takeaway from this transitioning into industry is you need to learn how to trust other people and have more teamwork skills.
Yes.
The big
Yes.
takeaway. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. That's good to know for me because I'm finishing up soon.
Excellent.
Yeah. But for students maybe currently in undergrad who wants to do graduate studies, would like what kind of advice would you give to them if, for example, they may want to go into industry or academia? Like what kind of advice would you give?
I myself, I consider grad school more as a personal journey.
Mhm.
So it's more like I decided to invest my time to contribute to advance a certain technology, even if
Mhm.
and end up being like a baby step improvement.
Mhm.
So since it's because it's a personal journey, then the knowledge itself may or may not be helpful um, in like later career development. Um, so but like I hope everyone who's doing it or decided to do grad school could really enjoy it.
Mhm.
It will likely be very painful, I think for most of the people.
Mhm.
But you know, like no pain, no gains, right?
Yeah.
So
Right, exactly.
so
Well
like
said.
plus like it's the time that we invested on ourselves. So I think that kind of point of view is very important because I feel like these days people don't really investing time on themselves.
Mhm.
So and along this journey, I like it doesn't really. I think it doesn't really matter where you're gonna end it up with.
Mhm.
So besides all the deep technical like hardcore knowledge that you will gain, I would say I would also suggest just pay attention to those soft skills, especially the
Mhm.
one we already mentioned today,
Mhm.
such as like how to pick up new skills quickly, or like how to efficiently communicate with others, how to work in a team and such. So all these soft skills will be so handy in the later career, no matter
Right.
where you're going. And even if, like I mentioned, you decided to go to a field that is different from where you're
Right.
at in the grad school.
Right. That's so true
well said.
about
Yeah.
I think you only learn when you figure out yourself.
yeah.
A lot of times you like you're being taught, but it doesn't mean that you really understand it.
Mhm. Mhm.
This is
Yeah.
true. Yes. 100% agree with that. For
That's so true.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Happens a lot.
Yeah.
Did you have do you have hobbies to help you stay sane while juggling all this work?
I do. So I do a lot of baking, and I do gardening. So that's the main two
Oh
things I
wow.
do. Yeah. So yeah, they're all experiments, right?
Yeah.
So I think I'm
That's true.
all like related. Like yeah. I think I found them very interesting. Like I
Mhm.
I would dig into like a recipe, try them so many times, and then finally figure out with my own
Mhm.
recipe. Like I feel so good about it. And then gardening, it's sort of the same thing, right? You try it 1 year,
Yeah.
and you try next year, it doesn't turn out the same result, just like what I happened in my lab.
Right.
But I just try to like enjoy it because I feel like that's just life. So
Yeah.
yeah, I do a lot of gardening, and I love putting together like flowers and all that thing and flower arrangement. Yeah, I do. I also like some. I do like royal icing, like royal icing
What?
decorated sugars.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah. So those
like for
cute.
cakes
Yeah,
or
no,
for
just for
cookies?
cookies actually. Yeah,
Oh,
just
the one
for
that
those.
becomes tough, right? The
Yes,
one
yes,
that
yes. So
hardens.
those like yeah, fancy ones. So yeah,
Wow.
I would make like these things.
Oh, wow,
So
that's so
cool.
cute.
Okay, wow. So we're
Wow.
linking Amanda's Instagram with all her baking in the description so you can all follow her.
That's so
I
She does
cool.
actually,
amazing stuff.
I recently just quit the Instagram because
Oh
I
no.
just couldn't find myself focused. Yeah, but you can still find me on the Instagram, that's for sure.
It's so funny.
Oh wow, that's so cool. But I guess in
Yeah,
this
so
case with gardening and baking, you get to test more of your artistic side, right?
yes, like
Yeah.
creativity sort of thing. Yeah, I
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
yeah. It's definitely not peaceful.
Oh,
Sometimes I
really?
get like yeah,
I thought it was peaceful.
because I think it's peaceful when you figure out a certain procedure. Like you know the
Okay.
procedure will get you to the certain
Hmm.
thing. Like what do you want exactly?
But I want to buy your cookbook if you ever have one. Okay, baking book,
Thank
that'd
you.
be awesome. But
I'm the
okay.
first customer.
First
Awesome.
customer. Yeah, exactly. So,
I actually only make them once a year or something because they requires a lot of time, a lot of
Really?
work.
I thought
Yeah,
it's just sugar and like food coloring.
it's difficult. It's
Okay.
difficult,
Well,
especially when you, yeah, sorry.
I guess that's why a lot of people like you have to specialize in being a pastry chef. It takes a lot of skills to become
Yeah,
a really
yeah,
skilled one.
it's not easy just by watching YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Yeah, so seriously, I think all these things are very similar to actual like lab work,
Mhm.
where you can't really expect that you read a paper, you're going to reproduce the
Yeah.
results,
This
right?
is
Like, just
great.
to be
Yes.
honest, it's the
Wow.
same thing as you're not
Yeah.
going to just rely on you watch a YouTube video. You're going to, next day, you're going to figure out how to make a certain thing.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it's all like repeating until you figure out the procedure. So I found that is really related to my actual work, and I learned a lot from it. I think
Mhm.
it took me probably like a year to figure out a pizza dough recipe.
Wow.
So long, because I never realized that there's one thing I never realized that is that different flour in different environment would soak up different amount of water. And
Oh, like
I
the
net
moisture, the humidity.
yes, and also the
Ah.
flour itself. So you can't just copy paste a person in, I don't know,
Right, right.
Florida, and then this
Right.
recipe, and then you just like try to figure it out and
Yeah,
realize that
yeah.
why your dough it's so different. So
Right.
I never realized that until like I somehow figure it out. So it's pretty
Wow.
satisfying when you figure it out.
Yeah.
You get your eureka moment, I guess, like you do.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's like, yes, I did it.
Fabulous.
And then you get to eat it after that. So that's,
Exactly,
unlike
exactly.
the lab, you cannot eat that. So you
No eating in the lab. Yes, it's a good
satisfaction.
message too. True.
That's yeah,
Wow.
that's true. That's true.
Oh man. Wow.
Good. Good advice for staying sane. Yes, love that.
Yeah. So do more experiments, but something that is more satisfying to you.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Like if I can add one thing, like one more advice for all the grad students is I hope all the grad students do have their normal life. Get
Yes.
get a cat, like get a
Uh,
hobby,
mhm.
like enjoy the relationship you're having, even though I don't know, they're happy, they're giving you challenges and all that, but still, like having a normal life, it's very important, because if you just totally out of it, and when you come back, you realize that how much you don't get like being used to that anymore, and it's not good.
Mhm.
So one thing I really appreciate that when I went to MRS and I went to a panel, listened to a woman's talk, because for the longest time, everybody's telling me that, oh, you got to have a life and work balance.
Mhm.
And then I just couldn't find that being happening, because I at work, I'm worried about what happened in my life, and in life, I'm worrying about I'm wasting time and I'm not doing the work. And
Mhm.
then
Yeah.
that woman
Yeah.
was saying that
Mhm.
I never rely on that kind of phrases. And what I believe is that you got to have work and life blended. They're just together.
It's hard sometimes, but
It's hard. It's hard.
yeah.
Life only gets harder. So enjoy
Yeah.
where you're at right now.
Yeah, that's
Oh
true.
man. Oh man.
So, yeah. And so to confirm, MRS is a conference.
Yes, it's called Material
Research
Research
Society.
Society.
Oh,
Yeah, I think so.
They're
Yeah.
really good for those
Yeah, they
who.
have biannual conferences. I think one in Boston and then one in somewhere in the West
Yeah.
Coast.
So if you get a chance, if you want to go to the one in Boston, like certainly join that, because it's really big, and then
Mhm.
they have really good talks.
Mhm.
So I really enjoyed it. I really like it. Yeah.
it's
Oh,
like,
do you
yeah.
have more advice on staying organized? Because I
But
think you
just
mentioned
like,
it.
yeah, how it goes, like, I don't
Staying
know.
organized.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned it
I
about doing your full-time job for 8 hours, and afterwards you do your PhD work, right?
yes.
Yeah.
So I am certainly a very organized person. Just because that I like that's just how my thoughts and then my body functions, so that I can get the highest efficiency possible. Um, one of the main way that I stay organized is the fact that I actually spend time to plan things out.
Mhm.
Even though there are things, it depending on like which stage I'm at. If I have a lot of things on my plate, so let me go back a little bit. So actually, when I was in probably that first year or second year of my PhD, I got really stressed, just because there's so much things on my plate. I've never need to have a like multitask ability or all those kind of things. So I got really stressed out, which I think every grad student would get to that point in a certain time in their PhD. So one thing I was able to get out of that is actually from one of the co-op I worked with, because I was complaining to him like there's too much things on my plate and all this kind of thing, and the person was like, just go and do it. Like there's nothing can be done. Just get them, like just do one thing. Yeah, and just get one thing finished. Like there's nothing needs to really complain of that, and that's actually really clicked me. So normally these days when I have a lot of things on my plate, I don't even try to be organized. Just whatever is on top of my head, I'm just gonna get it done. So that I'm able to like see things actually getting off my plate, which makes me so much peaceful, and I was able to functioning normally. But if I was able to have time, I would spend time to plan it out, and then I would just go on and just carry all the work out. So that's really the two ways I'm trying to do recently.
Okay. What if you plan things and then it takes longer than expected? That happens a lot for me.
Well, so that's definitely like that's my most enemy for quite a while. But like these days, I think I'm really good at estimating things, like estimating how long it takes a certain things to get done. Just because previously I've made some mistakes, right? Like I expecting this thing only take 2 days, all of a sudden it takes 20 days.
Right.
So because of I have that kind of experience, and then I learn from that kind of experience. So these days I'm able to adjusting it. So actually being able to giving really good estimation on how long it's going to take. And that's a really good, important like ability, because your boss going to ask you like how long it's going to take. You don't want to be too overestimated and then have to go back and say that, well, sorry about that. Like I was being too optimistic and I didn't get it done. Or you don't want to be like having a lot of time, then your boss gonna be like, why it's gonna take so long? Like it makes sense. And also on the other side, when you're having your team members, you don't want to estimating so little time, and later on everybody got so stressed out because like everything it's just on the deadline and you're trying to figure out like finish it, so it's not good too. So that's actually really important ability. So yeah,
true. Very nice. No.
Just
Wise.
Yeah, just I like, well, get back to your Fanny's question. I would say just accept it, and next time when you do it, try to do it better.
That's true.
So
that's true.
Yeah, so I think because the time that passes already passed, all you can do is probably carry on right now. But yeah, hopefully next time you can do set a proper, like not proper, like a little bit better expectations, so that it'll be easier for fulfill and such. Yeah.
And then, because we don't want to take too much of your time, and this is a lovely afternoon.
That's okay.
We'll focus, and we'll actually, the final question. Thank you so much for everything so far. So where do you see the future of nanotechnology, be it in your work of your day job or your PhD?
So I think nanotechnology is already changing people's life. But from my point of view, I hope that more and more people, and I believe that more and more people will recognize the importance of the nanotechnology and notice that their life is actually getting benefit out of that. So yeah, that's my vision and hope for nanotechnology.
I guess it's not like, you know how the AI boom, everyone's like, oh, everything's AI, and there's like a buzzword. I guess nanotechnology is kind of just like creeping into our lives slowly, and it's improving it, but then we're not realizing how much it's really improving our lives, but we just need to appreciate it, that it's
I think
actually.
Yeah, definitely. Well, to be honest, I feel like there's not, I think sometimes I feel like people when they talk about, well, even AI, it's like sometimes I feel like when people talk about nanotechnology, they feel like it's not, I think they more likely be scared rather than being excited about it.
Okay.
One thing I feel like, one thing I feel like it's like nano. It's like you sort of feel uncertain when you cannot really see something. And the
That's true.
nano is definitely something you can't really see, and you have to use those fancy like equipment to to get it to be able to see. But definitely when you show those SEM images or AFM images, like people will see like, wow, this is how it looks like. This is how
Mhm.
graphene looks like. Oh wow, this is so cool. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's why we're here. We're trying to tell everybody it's cool and it's fun and it's safe. Well, I mean, there's some not safe stuff, but
Well,
yeah,
yeah,
we
there
just
is,
need to
yeah.
make sure that that doesn't happen. But
Mhm.
I guess
Yeah.
with also just popular media, hopefully with the whole, Marvel quantum stuff, hopefully it's shed in a good light. It makes a huge difference though, like how it's portrayed in popular media really makes a huge difference. Because I know that
Yeah,
graphene, at least just a few months ago, it had a bad rep because of the mask, right? But actually it's a really wonderful material as long as you use it properly.
mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's for sure. That's for sure. So I think everything has a certain like dangerous zone.
Yeah.
I think as long as you get at the control, and
Yeah.
it's gonna be beneficial. So
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. Yes. Yeah.
Totally
And
agree.
okay, I don't know if you wanted anything else to add to that, Bonnie, but that was excellent. I think you're really inspirational, Amanda, and you're an example of excellence in our community. So thank you so much for being on the show and letting us learn so much about you. And it's really inspiring, actually, how you can balance grad school with full-time research work
Mhm.
as a job. That's incredible. So thank you for that. We'll link more information on Amanda in the description below. If it'll be there just in case. And so feel free to contact her if you can. And yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's all there for today. Take care.
And stay
all right.
curious.
Thank you. Take care.
All right.